This is not going to be a happy story, but it needs to be told, and it's very important that people need to be aware that this is what is happening in our country. This is what's happening in the United States for those who don't live in the U.S. But we are under attack. Innocent, traditional Americans who want nothing to do with this Black Lives Matter lunacy, we're under attack. Our civil liberties are under attack. Our right to self-defense is under attack. Our right to self-preservation is under attack. A lot of the changes in our country we did not vote for. We had no say in it. We weren't even given a warning. We're at a point where many people are scratching their heads and they're asking themselves, how did we get here? Why is this happening? Why is this happening to us? Why is it happening to good, innocent Americans? People like this this bar owner from Nebraska, last name Gardner. This is from CNN. A Nebraska bar owner who was indicted in the fatal shooting of a black protester has died by suicide. So during the height of the Black Lives Matter activist riots, there was a man who ended up defending himself, defending his family, and defending his bar because violent Black Lives Matter activist thugs were, they were starting some stuff. They put him in a headlock. They attacked his father. He gave them warning shots. He was begging them to let him go. They just kept beating him. They wouldn't stop. He killed one of them. It was this piece of crap right here. Let's take a good look at this scumbag. Last name Scurlock. That's him. Very, very brave. This kid. He's the source of this country's strength. This 22-year-old James Scurlock. The charges stem from the May 30th shooting death of the 22-year-old James Scurlock outside of Gardner's Omaha bar during protests, more like riots, related to the police killing of George Floyd. CNN previously reported. So this is the lawyer, the Scurlock family attorney, Justin Wayne, and Klein said Gardner's concealed carry permit had expired. Okay, and? So because of some administrative, nonsense, that means that he's no longer allowed to use this method of defense because of some administrative clerical bullshit, right? I mean, is that what we're being told here by the attorney of this loser kid who's dead now? Thank God he's dead. He's a fucking loser. He's a violent thug. He did violent thug things, and your life expectancy drops when you engage in this kind of behavior. Eventually, you're gonna come across somebody who is able to and willing to defend themselves. Gardner was let go, by the way. He cooperated with the authorities, and they cleared him of all wrongdoing. It was a clear-cut case of self-defense. But because Scurlock looks the way that he does, he belongs to that protected class of people that are advertised to us as they're so brave. They were kings. They were queens. They can never do anything wrong. Everything that is wrong in their community is the fault of the white man. It's the fault of the president. It's the fault of white women. It's the fault of these hipsters who are gentrifying their urban community. It's the fault of slavery. Even though it happened like 200 fucking years ago, it's the fault of that anyways because reasons, right? It's the fault of Jim Crow. Blah, 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 blah. They go on and on and on. It is never their fault. Scurlock can never be held accountable for his own actions. People like Scurlock, people like Jacob Blake, people like George Floyd, people like Trayvon Martin. None of these people can ever be held to account for their own actions under any circumstances because that would be racist. It's a modern day lynching. What are you, a bigot? You don't want to support these things, right? I'm being sarcastic, of course. They're absolved of all wrongdoing. It's never their fault. It's the school's fault. It's the university's fault. It's the corporation's fault. They're all racist. They got to hire way more, more diversity, right? Jesus. It goes on and on and on. It's like, okay, at what point is there a clear path to responsibility for these groups of men, these young people who engage in this thuggish behavior? At what point? Or, I'm a young urban youth. I was a young urban youth, right? I grew up without a father. He stepped out when I was a teenager. There was drug use in my home. This is what I experienced. This is what I was exposed to. I didn't do the drugs. All right, but that was going on in the household. I cussed out my teachers. Granted, they singled me out, they bullied me, and I was a good kid. I genuinely wanted to learn. I wanted to be involved, and they looked at me like I was like some kind of scrub. Maybe I was a scrub, but you know what? I had my heart in the right place, and I lashed out. I see people like Skurlock. I see a little bit of myself, but you know what? I didn't go out and attack innocent people like Gardner, who was a Trump supporter. He was one of us. He was a veteran. He served his country honorably, 2 tours in Iraq. But now we're at a point in history. We're at a point in American history where a certain group of Americans who look like Gardner cannot defend themselves against people who look like Jacob Blake, George Floyd, Skurlock, Trayvon Martin. Because if you do, even if you survive the encounter, you might as well be fucking dead. Because these overzealous, ideologically driven district attorneys and prosecutors are going to come after you. Because you went after the people that George Floyd or that George Soros wants to protect. What else could it be, man? What else could it be? What reason is there to attack an innocent man and throw him behind bars for life for killing this piece of shit Skurlock who violently attacked him and his family? Expired permit. Get out of here, man. Highlighted at the very end. I want to go over this. It's important. Dornan, I think that's the legal representative of Gardner, or at least he was. Dornan described Gardner as a decorated veteran who served 2 tours in Iraq and suffered from 2 traumatic brain injuries. The attorney said that his client had cooperated with authorities the night of the shooting. He told us that he felt that he was in the war zone that night outside of his bar with violence, the tear gas, and the mass confusion. Dornan explained. Dornan said there was great risk to Mr. Gardner following the shooting, so he left town. He was scheduled to return to Nebraska Sunday night to face the charges. Dornan said the indictment was a shock to Gardner and called the shooting a clear case of self-defense. But the permit was expired, right? The permit was expired, so that means he shouldn't have had the gun. Therefore, Skurlock would be alive, but Gardner would be dead. Skurlock would have survived had Gardner left the gun at home and wasn't concealing it on his person because he didn't have the right documentation to do such a thing. So Gardner's fucking dead. Then his father's going to be fucking dead. But it's okay because he didn't break the law. He didn't break the law. He wasn't concealed carrying during a violent riot. He obeyed the law. And that Skurlock piece of shit would have gotten away. Him and all his little thug friends. I don't even know how we beat that. How do we it's just like, even if you live in a stand your ground state, even if you have open carry laws, the castle doctrine laws, there's no duty to retreat, they'll still go after you. Because you went after the people that you can't criticize, that you can't harm, because they're perfect. They can do no wrong, says the globalist media. They're extremely brave and they're perfect in every way. Nothing is their fault, says George Soros. People like James Skurlock, Jacob Blake, they're heroes. They're inspirations. They're the source of America's strength, says Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I don't know. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. But I'll leave you with this, though. The only way we fight back, the only way that we may have a chance to reverse this, we need to, regular people need to run for office. And they need to, let the people know that they are not going to dispense with self-defense laws. They're not going to dispense with the concept of self-preservation. They will prosecute and go after violent thugs like James Skurlock and protect people like Gardner. because I'm tired of seeing veterans kill themselves. I'm tired of seeing Americans punished and humiliated before an international audience for daring to defend their own fucking lives and their livelihoods, their jobs and their families. It makes me fucking sick. It puts a lot of hate in my heart. And there's so much I want to say that I'm not allowed to. But vote Trump. That's going to be the biggest fuck you in American history, right next to the 2016 election. And that will send a clear message to these globalists, to these violent Black Lives Matter activist thugs, to these Antifa terrorist cells that are operating without any sort of impunity throughout the country, that we are standing up to them and that we are not afraid. And there's a lot of brave Americans running around the streets peacefully with American flags, with Trump flags, and they're letting the president know, they're letting the whole world know that we're not going to back down, we're not going to cower. People are going out and supporting the president of the United States, putting themselves in harm's way. Elderly women have gotten beaten up, knives pulled on them. People are stopping their vehicles and getting out and starting fights with innocent Americans on sidewalks waving American flags. Now, could you imagine if we inverse the situation and it was a bunch of these red MAGA hat wearing protesters who roll up on a like a BLM barbecue or something, and they just start beating up everybody? It would be international news, and they would never stop talking about it. And that's not hyperbole. Look at Jussie Smollett. That didn't even fucking happen, and it went international. Covington Catholic kid incident. Kids were literally standing there doing nothing, and they were accused of literal crimes, which people thought warranted death threats. Showing up to their schools, threatening to burn down the schools with the kids inside. And of course, why not believe them? They've proven all throughout summer they're willing to set buildings on fire with humans inside. They're willing to attack children. They're willing to kill children. They're willing to kill even black people or other individuals who even agree with them. This is what Marxists do. If you know anything about Russian history, well, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but you have one violent, radical group. They rise to power. They remove everybody who's not in line or ideologically pure, and then along comes another group within that group, and they're more radical, and then they decide that everyone else is not ideologically pure enough, so they purge everyone, and it just goes on and on and on and on. When people talk about the woke left and all this nonsense about circular firing squads and the left eats their own, it seems cheesy, it seems corny, but given how these violent socialist, Marxist, communist revolutions have gone, we're getting a glimpse of what those things are like, but without the violence generally, unless they're rioting in the streets. And you just look at the BLM mission statement. We know what these people want. They want to destroy the concept of the nuclear family. They want to raise children in some bullshit communal setting. I'm not interested. I have nothing in common with BLM or the modern left or the Democratic Party. My kids will never be fucking raised by anybody else other than myself. And I know there's a lot of parents out there who aren't going to let the fucking state raise their kids at these shitty public education, the shitty public schools. They're opting out, man. They're opting out. We know what the modern left is up to. And it's sickening. It's sad. As much as I don't like or give a fuck about Skurlock, it is sad that young people, 22-year-olds like Skurlock, like that stupid Antifa kid who threw the IED at the building, like Kyle Rittenhouse, like Jay Bishop, even Michael Reinl. He's a 40-year-old guy, but he's still a relatively young dude, right? These people have given themselves to this stupid ideology, putting themselves in these really stupid situations that shouldn't even be happening in the first place if these idiot governors and mayors are doing their jobs, but they're destroying their own lives. They're getting criminal records, they're dying, they're severely injuring themselves, going blind in one eye or, broken bones, this and that, and it just, for what? For fucking what? What reason? No, I just... like Kyle Rittenhouse is a little different because he didn't really seem like an ideologically possessed dude, but nonetheless, is there something wrong with the fact that these small businesses are reaching out to people like Kyle Rittenhouse to defend their places of work because their insurance won't cover any damage from the riots that the governors are allowing to continue. And they're neutering the police, not allowing them to do their job, which is to protect the citizenry. 17-year-olds have to pick up the slack. And they have to fight against violent activist BLM thugs like Rosenbaum, the douchebag skateboarder, and that other idiot crybaby that lost his bicep. Good, fuck him. That's what he gets. That's what he deserves. Now, here's a picture of him right here on the screen. This fucking crybaby, little bitch, pulled out a firearm on Kyle Rittenhouse. And he ended up losing that fight to a 17-year-old. Fuck him. Please, for the love of God, vote Trump. I don't see any other way. I honestly don't see anything else that we can do other than running for these local government positions, and just all you have to do is literally do your job, which is prosecute violent criminals, bring them to justice. Do not go after innocent people like Gardner, who was just defending his family, defending his business. This is sad. I will be voting for Trump in November. I will be supporting him in the Republican Party. I'm doing it for David Dorn. I'm doing it for Gardner. I'm doing it for Cannon Hinnett. I'm doing it because I love my country. Even though I was a Bernie bro in 2016, I was kind of a little douchebag leftist, but I never hated my country. I never mocked the troops. I never wished harm on America. I never wished for Bush or Obama to fail miserably. I was always on America's side. I was always Team America. And nothing's changed. But the left has. That's why people are walking away. And I believe if you're a Democrat, you should too. Peace out.